Shavua Tov, good afternoon, Israel briefers from all around the world. If you are watching while on vacation, welcome to it. I am Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, where you guys join me every Monday to Thursday for a walk around the top stories making the headlines in Israel. Naturally, the headlines you're not going to see anywhere else, because the mainstream media, well, we know their attitude towards the state of Israel. So don't worry, we have you covered right here. Now, as always, we are brought to you in partnership with these guys, Lay of the Land. And just a reminder that between Christmas and New Year's, there won't be a Lay of the Land newsletter. We are taking a well-deserved break, and there won't be any Israel briefs. Because I want to return in the new year freshly rested and ready to serve you, the community. Don't forget that if you have any questions, please pop them through to us either via our website or via our social media. And every Thursday, I bring you your mentions and morons of the week, your choices right here on the Israel Brief. So get them to me. It is day 794 since the 7th of October, and I'm still wearing this because we still have one hostage whose remains are still in the Gaza Strip. Now, yesterday there were reports that Hamas and a team from the Red Cross were searching in the North Gazan suburb of Zaytun. They are searching for the remains of the remaining Israeli hostage Ran Gvili. Master Sergeant Ran Gvili was a police officer who, despite his broken shoulder, ran down to the south to join the fighting against the terror invasion. And he fought like a lion before he was killed and his body taken captive by Hamas terrorists in the Gaza Strip. As his family have said, he was always the type of person to put others before him, and being the last one out, they say, is absolutely in line with his character. We want Run home immediately so he can be laid to rest in the dignity that he deserves. So let's take a look at those headlines, and we begin with a visit by German Chancellor Friedrich Merz to Israel yesterday. Merz is the first major European leader to visit the state of Israel in over a year due to the situation in Gaza. While he was here, he met with and was welcomed by President Herzog, and he met yesterday with Prime Minister Netanyahu, as well as other high-ranking officials, including the defense minister, the foreign minister, and other officials. And he also met with hostage families, especially those families and former hostages that have dual Israeli and German citizenship. He said it was really an incredible moment for him. And he also paid a visit to Yad Vashem. This is Israel's National Holocaust Memorial and Museum, where he reaffirmed Germany's commitment to Holocaust memory and education, and said he bows his head before the 6 million Jews who were murdered so brutally in the Holocaust and because of the German Nazi machine. The Chancellor also, in a joint statement with Prime Minister Netanyahu, reaffirmed his country's support of the state of Israel. He said, he had mourned with Israel, celebrated the return of hostages with the Israeli people, and Israel has an absolute right to defend itself, and that Germany will stand with Israel. Now, this comes as Germany took delivery of an Israeli Arrow 3 system designed to protect the country from incoming ballistic missiles. And it also comes as Germany ended the partial embargo on military wear that they had put in place due to the Gaza war. Now, in the joint conference, the German Chancellor reiterated Germany's stance on a two-state solution And Prime Minister Netanyahu said, this is where there is a difference in opinion between friends. He says, from Israel's perspective, we already had a two-state solution. Hamas already had basically a state in Gaza, and the result was the 7th of October, and we will not allow a terrorist state on our doorstep. The two leaders spoke about the imperative to move to phase 2 of President Trump's ceasefire agreement. We are almost concluded with phase 1, which will only be concluded once we receive back the remains of Master Sergeant Ran Gvili. What was interesting in this presser is that Prime Minister Netanyahu, when he took questions from the press corps, addressed the issue whether or not he would step down if he was to receive a presidential pardon, and he said he will not be stepping down. So a very, very welcome visit from Chancellor Friedrich Merz. Now, last week when I left you, we were discussing whether or not Israel would continue to compete in the Eurovision song competition. Now, what people outside of Israel need to understand, and I know that there's a lot of confusion. Why is Israel in Eurovision? Well, if you're a member of the European Broadcasting Union, and Cyprus is a member, Turkey is a member, Israel is a member, and Australia is a member. That's why we have an Australian entrant to Eurovision. Listen, guys, we love this cheesy song competition, and in the past years, Israel has done remarkably well, including winning the popular vote last year. Yes, we didn't get a single vote from the judges, who need sourpusses like that, but the people spoke, and Israel topped the leaderboard when it comes to the popular vote. Now, the members of the EBU met on Thursday, and we expected, quite frankly, the meeting to, go over 2 days. It ended very, very quickly, and the verdict was Israel gets to remain in the competition. Now, there were countries that threatened that they would walk if Israel was not included. Austria and Germany said they would not compete if Israel was barred from competing. And the usual culprits, Spain, Ireland, Slovenia, and Holland, who don't always fare that well in the competition, I might just say, walked out in a massive strop. And we haven't stopped hearing from RTE, that is the Irish broadcaster, and from the Spanish about what an injustice, and it's terrible, and the genocide, and this and that. Well, you know what? The Irish people gave their vote to Israel last year. So RTE, we know you're unpopular in your own country, but the Irish people voted with their preferences, and they chose Israel, which makes me think that the Irish people are not their government. Now, what is interesting, and I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here, is that we heard a lot of chirping from these countries, and they say Israel should have been banned because Russia was banned, which had Ukraine stepping in and saying Israel is not Russia. Israel did not invade another country like Russia invaded Ukraine. The UK broadcaster said that Eurovision must not be political, and they're absolutely correct. But I wonder if that's because if we're talking about invasions and politics, there could be a lot to be said about, British actions in Iraq and Afghanistan, and French actions, in Africa. So I don't think there's a single country involved in the war on terror that can say that they have prosecuted any kind of war absolutely flawlessly. And I think those countries know that. Nevertheless, all bets are on who is going to represent us in Eurovision in 2026. My ears say thank you to Ireland and Spain for pulling out, because at least my ears don't have to listen to a contestant the likes of Bambi Thug again. Now to some good news, and Israel and Costa Rica yesterday signed a free trade agreement. What is part of this agreement is that Costa Rica agreed to open a innovation office with diplomatic status in Jerusalem, Israel's capital, and they will do that within the first quarter of 2026. President of Costa Rica, Rodrigo Chavez, was in Israel, and the signing of this agreement shows the increasing and strengthening ties between the two countries. And finally, the enlistment in the IDF from Israeli minority communities is showing a sharp increase. We have seen a notable increase in conscripts or volunteers from the Druze community, the Arab Muslim community, the Bedouin community, and the Arab Christian community. Now, I hear some of you wondering, but isn't army service compulsory? Well, for minority communities, it's not. For the simple reasons, and it's a humane reason, is just in case we go to war, like we're at war with Hamas, or we have to fight in Syria, that there could be clashes within the same clans. Now, asked why there is a spike in enlistment, several said, well, the reason that they're joining is because the IDF are protecting Syrian Christians and Druze. Those are their brothers, and they feel the need to join the IDF. And others, including Muslim Israelis, said that they were just devastated by the atrocities of the 7th of October. They saw it, and Israel is their country, and they will defend it too. So for anybody accusing Israel of being an apartheid state and the IDF of all kinds of slurs, the proof is in the spike in enlistment from our minority communities. So guys, those are your headlines. Let's take your question, and it comes from Nicole in Washington, who says, Rolene, you told us who your heroes were last week that you met, but what images stick out the most for you from 710? Okay, wow, this is an incredible question, because I often think about it. Well, the images that I see come up often, and yes, amongst the horrific images of the atrocities, I will say that what comes up for me a lot are smells. There are times when I smell like death or rotting blood, and I'll say like to my husband, can you smell that? And he'll say, there's no smell. So I think like my mind and memory plays tricks on me quite often. But I will tell you some of the things that really, really stick out for me. One of them comes from when I went to Nahal Oz in the weeks following the 7th of October. Now, Nahal Oz, on one side you've got the army base, and one side you've got the kibbutz. And the first home that we got to, which was intact, very modest home, the kitchen window and like windowsill faced the same direction as the door. And on the door was a sticker from Zaka, that's the organization that goes in and collects the bodies and the remains. And this was the house of a family that had been slaughtered. But I could see like the dishwashing liquid. And I always think about that image, because that image always says to me, this was a normal family who maybe that morning were washing the dishes, cleaning up after the Shabbat the night before, and this is what happened to them. Another image that I always have is the image of walking through Kfar Aza, and it was very close to Hanukkah, and there was a silver Chanukiah amongst all the like looted stuff in the young generation's neighborhood, and it was perfectly intact. And I always think to myself, that was such a message to us, that in the midst of this great tragedy, look at what has sustained us. And another one that sticks out comes much later, and that's when I went to see the evidence at military headquarters. And you know, we talk a lot about incitement, and it seems very abstract until you are confronted with it. And standing there holding a copy of Hitler's Mein Kampf translated into Arabic, it was chilling to the core. And these are just some of the things that like remind me again and again. Ariel Bibas's little hook at the kindergarten where he put his little school bag, the pomegranates the kids had made that were waiting to be painted, also kibbutz Nir Oz. There's so many, guys, but it's always like the simple and personal things that just like play in my mind like a movie. So Nicole, thank you for that, because as difficult as it is to talk about it, it's important because it's kind of therapy for me. So thank you. So guys, that's it from today. Please don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our YouTube channel is right here at the Israel Brief. Remember, if you like our content, please hit that subscribe button. We are on Facebook at Lottel's site. Some of you guys are complaining that you're not seeing us. Please visit the site. I know that the other side is trying to restrict our views on our various social media. So if you do see us, please like, share, and subscribe. We're on Substack and LinkedIn at Rolene Marks and Instagram at Rolene_Marks. So guys, God bless you all. I will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.